Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to cover a very important topic and that is called corporate governance. This is the part one of this particular topic. We'll also be covering another one video on this one. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the meaning, the need, objectives and pillars of corporate governance. So let's begin. First of all, let's understand what is the meaning of corporate governance. Corporate governance refers to the system of rules, practices and process by which a company is directed and controlled. So we need to understand that every company needs to be controlled, every company needs to be directed. And for that purpose, you need rules, you need regulation, you need practices, you need process. And that is what is determined by corporate governance. So it's very important to set up the system because that helps and direct any company. It encompasses the mechanism by which the companies and those in control are accountable to stakeholders, including shareholders, employees, customers, and community. So we need to understand that anybody who is part of the company or or even the company is actually accountable, right? For accountable to whom? Accountable to their shareholders, accountable to employees who are working in those companies, accountable to the customers, and even to the community, right? Even the society for which you are working for. So it is very important that you do what is right for all these stakeholders, right? Corporate governance ensures that the companies are managed in a way that promotes transparency, accountability, and fairness. So we need to understand that these three things are very important: transparency, accountability, and fairness. And we are going to discuss this in detail also in later in this video. So it is very important that corporate governance, whenever you are setting up the system for corporate governance, it has to be based on transparency, accountability, and fairness. So why do we need corporate governance? That's a big question, right? So let me answer that. The first is accountability. As I told you that when the management is working, it has to work in the best interest of the stakeholder. You have to be accountable for whatever you are doing, right? You cannot say like this that, hey, I do not care. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not accountable for it, right? It doesn't work like that. So if you are working, you have to understand that you are accountable for any kind of behavior conducted by the organization or people working in the organization. Second important thing is transparency. It's very important that you provide a very clear, accurate and timely information to the stakeholders, because whatever decisions you are taking, you have to inform your shareholders and your stakeholders that why that decision is being made, what is the objective. That has to be clear. And third thing is risk management. Is very important to mitigate risk. First identify and then mitigate risk. The company does face a lot of risk from the internal environment as well as from the external environment. So it's very important that company identify those risks and mitigate them on time to ensure that their reputation is not affected in the market. The fourth one is investors confidence. So if the company is good, if the company is trustworthy, every investor like to invest into it. There are so many companies in the world who are highly trusted by the people, and that's why their share value always go up, because investors are trusting that company and they have greater access to the capabilities. They have greater access to the capital, as well as they can do a lot of operations at a lower cost of capital as well. Next is sustainability. So when any company who's working through ethical behavior, or they are accountable, or they are managing their risk properly, there are high chances those companies are sustainable in nature. They do wonders for their stakeholders, shareholders, as well as they have very responsible management practices. Next is, what is the objective of corporate governance? The first one is to protect the shareholder interest. We all know that shareholders are actually the owner of the company. They are investing in your company. So you have to ensure that whatever the right of the shareholder is, you have to be very fair. You have to be very transparent, as well as protect their interest. Whatever you are earning, you have to distribute among the shareholders. Second is the ethical conduct. You have to promote the ethical behavior and integrity among the companies, and that has to be started from management and leadership, right? If they are ethical, if they are built, if their code of ethics and code of conduct is good, then most probably the employees will also do the same. Next is efficient management. Corporate governance is all about creating a management that is very efficient, very effective, very prudent in nature, and that can only ensure your long-term success. Then compliance. We need to understand that every organization works in a legal framework. There are some legal rules, there are some regulatory frameworks, there are some ethical standards that has to be followed, and it is the duty of the corporate governance to ensure that everything is being followed as per the standards set by the government. Then accountability and transparency. I've already explained you this, but again I am explaining you that most of the decision making which you are doing, management has to be accountable, there has to be transparent, they have to communicate properly to their shareholder and stakeholders, so that nothing is happening behind the wall. Then we have stakeholder engagement. So it is not only about shareholders, you have to consider the interest of the stakeholders also, like employees. They have their own priorities, the customer they have their own priorities, and even the community or the society, they have own proper priorities. So we have to ensure that all these stakeholders are also, their interest is also being protected. What are the various pillars we have in corporate governance? The first pillar is accountability. That means you need to have a company's board. You need to have people in your management company's board who are answerable to shareholder and stakeholder for every decision and action which they are making. Second important, that you have to be very transparent. You have to be the clear, accurate, timely disclosure of information, right? Uh, and not only that information, that what decision you are taking, but also the information related to your financial position, right? Your balance sheet, that needs to be published open in the public. People can read it and they can understand what is going on. Then fairness. It's very important to have a very equitable treatment to the stakeholders. It is not like that you discriminate or make unjust practices for minority people, right? We do not do that. Next important thing, which is responsibility. So companies board and management is responsible. They have to be responsible, right? Because they are working in environment and making profit, right? So at the end of the day, they have to ensure that whatever they are doing is ethical and responsible. Not every company will be following it, but that is what is expected out of them. Then we have this independence. What is this independence? Independence means that your board of corporate governance needs to be independent. They should not work under any pressure, so that whatever decision they are taking, they are completely bias free. That should be unbiased, and decision making can be done what is profitable for the company as well as for the society and the other stakeholders. Then we have the leadership. You always have people who are ethically very strong in your top leadership, so that they can set up a right code of conduct and code of ethics, and that can only guide for a good governance. What are the limitations we have in corporate governance? The first one is complexity. It is very complex to implement. It is not that easy. Even for the bigger companies, it is more difficult, because you have legal frameworks, you have cultural environment, you have a lot of things which needs to be considered before setting up the corporate governance system. Next important thing is very costly compliance. So as corporate governance standards are very expensive, so it is very important that you have to set up a system, you need to set up processes, you need to bring in people, you need to follow the legal framework, so it is very expensive. Third one is potential for bureaucracy, because as most of the time what happens with corporate governance, that once the board is set up, uh, then it gets into a bureaucratic system, right? So there is very little scope of innovation, there's quite rigidity into it, and that makes organization less innovative, and sometimes because of that the organization gets into losses. Then your conflict of interest, you have to make sure that there should not be any conflict of interest among the board members. They have to be independent, and they should not have any financial interest from the company. And last but not the least, resistance to change. Most of the time when you're setting up these processes, people will resist to it because they are not ready for it. So most of the time any change, it would be difficult, and similar to corporate governance as well. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy this particular lecture. Do subscribe to this new channel. Uh, and if you want to access all these notes, I'll link my Telegram channel as well. We'll be meeting in the next lecture very soon. Thank you.